All right, good evening, everyone. This is the April 22nd, 2019 Westminster City Council meeting. This time, I'll remind everyone the flags are in the front and the back. And I'll ask you please at this time join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Parker, would you take the roll, please?
Atchison.
Here.
DeMott.
Here.
Haney.
Here.
Mankey.
Here.
Seitz.
Here.
Scully.
Here.
Vols.
Here. Members of the council, you have before you the minutes of the April 8th, 2019 meeting. If you have a motion to accept or revise, Ms. Seitz.
I move that the City Council approve the minutes of the regular meeting of April 8th, 2019 as presented.
Ms. Scully,
I second.
all those in favor, please signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Item 3A is carried. Ladies and gentlemen, bear with us for a little bit. We've got about 5 presentations to get through, and then we'll get to the public comment after that. First item on the agenda is the Mental Health Month. Mr. DeMott, if you would, please.
The organizations who came to take the mental health proclamation. Hey. Could you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Wendy Lewis with Community Reach Center. I'm Claire Sheldon with Jefferson Center for Mental Health.
Can you tell me a little bit about your organizations real quickly?
Sure. Community Reach Center is the mental health provider that serves primarily the Adams County and surrounding areas. We currently serve about 22,000 individuals every year, from the youngest child to the oldest senior citizen. Jefferson Center serves Jefferson, Gilpin, and Clear Creek County. We serve about 32,000 people every year with mental health services, community education, and substance use treatment.
So first I want to thank both of you for being here. This is actually a subject that's very close to me. I have a daughter who Jefferson Center has actually served. She struggles with some mental health issues, and she is a warrior for this cause herself, trying to fight a stigma that all too often gets attached to people who suffer from mental health illnesses. So I very much appreciate you both being here tonight. With that, I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation. Whereas good mental health is essential to the overall health and emotional well-being of children, youth, adults, and families, and promotes a healthy community. And whereas 1 in 5 people in our communities experience a mental health condition each year, and whereas 8.1% of individuals in our communities experience substance or use disorder each year, and whereas increased focus on prevention of mental health conditions and substance abuse disorders among children and adolescents through screening and early intervention helps improve lives, and whereas the stigma against mental health conditions and substance use disorders prevents many people from accessing care, and whereas mental health problems and substance abuse disorders are detected early and treated, people can recover and maintain a healthy and independent life. And whereas the City of Westminster is dedicated to improving health and well-being of its citizens by ending the stigma and focusing on the integrated role of mental health in all our lives, now therefore I, Herb Atchison, Mayor of the City of Westminster, do hereby proclaim Mental Health Month, or made to be Mental Health Month, and to call upon citizens, government agencies, public, private institutions, businesses, schools, to recommit our communities and resources to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, providing appropriate and accessible services for all citizens, and making mental health a priority. Dated this 22nd day of April 2019, Herb Atchison, Mayor of the City of Westminster. We got one of these for each of you.
Thank you.
I very much appreciate your work.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much. Thank you very much, lady.
I believe we have a couple members in the audience.
Abdo and Glenn Fudges that are going to come forward for us. I'll let you guys come forward and introduce yourselves. Hey, good to see you.
Juliette Abdel, the President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce.
Greg Moss, President and CEO of the Metro North Chamber of Commerce.
Glenn Plagan, Senior Director of the Front Range Community College Small Business Development Center.
Great. Well, I'm very honored to give this proclamation today. We, as a city, really value the contribution that small business gives to our city, and small business owners, and just the spirit that they give, entrepreneurial spirit that they provide for us, in addition to the driving force of our economy. So, without further. So, whereas Westminster's economy is driven by small businesses who think big, take risks, and work hard, and whereas from the storefront shops to the high-tech startups that keep Westminster on the cutting edge, small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and whereas small business owners have energy and a passion for what they do, and whereas when we support small businesses, jobs are created and Westminster preserves our culture, and whereas nearly 94% of our businesses are small businesses who create jobs and spur economic growth, and whereas National Small Business Week has been recognized every year since 1963 to highlight the programs and services available to entrepreneurs through the U.S. Small Business Administration and other government agencies, and whereas small business is big business, and the city's Department of Economic Development, the city's 2 thriving chambers, and our local Small Business Development Center take an active role in advocacy, community development, and business development in Westminster. And whereas the City of Westminster supports and joins in this national effort to help small businesses do what they do best, grow their business, create jobs, and ensure that our communities remain as vibrant tomorrow as they are today. Now therefore, I, Herb Atchison, Mayor of the City of Westminster, Colorado, do hereby proclaim the week of May 5th to May 11th as Small Business Week.
And Ms. Seitz, if you would do Drinking Water Week, please.
Hi, can I get Sarah Borges and anyone from the public works team that'd like to come up? Hi, Eric, Anita, good to see you again. Good to see you. Thanks. All right, wonderful. So I have the distinct pleasure of proclaiming Drinking Water Week. This is a week that is through May 5th through 11th, where we celebrate something that we all take for granted every day, which is clean and safe drinking water. But it's not a small amount of work that goes into that. It's a huge amount of work and a huge amount of investment for the city to be able to do that. So these are some great professionals, and I'd love for you guys to talk a little bit about it before I read the proclamation. I should let Eric take the lead on this one, I think.
Well, thank you for the council and Mayor Atchison for recognizing all the hard work that goes into protecting our source water and all the hard work that goes into providing excellent drinking water. Our events this year, we do a display at the College Hill Library, and we have some giveaways for adults and kids, so come see us over there.
A really great thing, and I think throughout the whole month of May, Public Works does stuff, right, to educate and let our residents know about the different programs that we have. My son is a 5th grader, and I believe at Front Range Community College you have a whole water program for the kids. Is that right?
Yeah.
So, so they can learn a little bit more about it. Okay. So whereas water is one of our most valuable natural resources, and whereas only tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy, and the quality of life we enjoy, and whereas any measure of a successful society, low mortality rates, economic growth and diversity, productivity, and public safety are in some way related to access to safe water, and whereas we are all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which future generations depend, And whereas each citizen of our city is called upon to help protect our source waters from pollution, to practice water conservation, and to get involved in local water issues by getting to know their water. Now, therefore, I, Herb Atchison, Mayor of the City of Westminster of Colorado, on behalf of the entire City Council and staff, do hereby proclaim the week of May 5th through 11th, 2019 as Drinking Water Week in the City of Westminster, and ask all citizens to join in extending our appreciation to our Public Works and Utilities Department employees, whose vision, expertise, and dedication provide residents with the high-quality drinking water we all enjoy. Signed this 22nd day of April 2019, Herb Atchison, Mayor. So, thank you, guys. Do you mind introducing yourselves, everybody, for the audience?
Sure. Julie Kaler, Utilities Engineering Manager.
My name is Sarah Borgers. I'm the Water Resources and Quality Manager.
Eric Scott, the chemist in water quality.
Max Kirschbaum, the Director of Department of Public Works and Utilities. If I could just add, Eric is the lead for this program, but he and his team, as a chemist for our water treatment program, just be aware that he protects all 6 billion gallons of water that we produce for our citizens every year. 6 billion gallons a year. It's a big challenge.
For 300,000 folks?
Yes,
Is that right?
That's right.
Well, thank you. That's
Thank you.
a lot of responsibility on your shoulders.
Recognition, appreciate
Well, thank
it.
you so much.
Ms. Haney, if you would, please.
Ah, there you are, Kristen. You are here. I am. We have something coming up.
We do.
May 11th, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's called Community Pride Day,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
Yep.
So would you tell everybody what we're going to be doing?
Yeah, so in Community Pride Day, we've been celebrating Community Pride Day for over 30 years. It's an opportunity for volunteers to help us spring clean the city of Westminster, and we partner with Highland Hills Parks and Recreation District, so we help them out as well. This is our largest volunteer project of the year, so we've got hundreds of volunteers signed up already, and more registrations keep coming in.
Can they sign up in the back?
They can't. They can email or call me to register.
Okay.
And we make sure that you're in a safe place, usually close to home, so it's easy to pick up and something that you see every day and care about. So afterwards, we celebrate with everyone, and we've got a big cookout luncheon, free for all volunteers. The mayor does a speech every year, and we have music, games for the kids, and we raffle off a ton of really great prizes.
And it's going to be a beautiful day.
From your lips.
So please come and join us on the Community Pride Day. I think it's an opportunity to give back to a community and preserve what we really believe is our pride. So let me read the proclamation. Whereas the City of Westminster and Highland Hills Park and Recreation District have joined together to mobilize citizens to take action in their communities. And whereas the goal of Community Pride Day is to bring together youth, government, businesses, families, churches, neighborhoods, and community leaders to help clean up the city and Highlands Hills Park and Recreation District and share pride in our community. And whereas Westminster and Highland Hills Park and Recreation District have organized a cleanup program with sponsors and donations from the community, and whereas the caring citizen volunteers of our communities are ready and willing to do their part to engage in cleanup activities and demonstrate their civic pride and individual responsibilities. Now, therefore, I, Herb Atchison, Mayor of the City of Westminster, on behalf of the entire City Council and the staff, do hereby proclaim Saturday, May 11th, as Community Pride Day in the City of Westminster, and call upon all citizens and civic organizations to recognize and support the efforts of the volunteers and citizens who take pride in keeping Westminster and Highland Hills Park and Recreation District clean places to live, work, play, and learn. I added that last one.
That sounds
Yeah,
great.
so come join us. Thank you, Kristen, for all the work you do to make that happen. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Polls, if you would, please.
So it's my great pleasure to read a proclamation for Municipal Clerks Week. So if everyone can come forward. Please introduce yourselves and your position.
Hi, Travis McKay, Records Information Administrator.
Mary Joy Barajas, I'm a deputy city clerk doing liquor licensing.
Carla Kelso, Deputy City Clerk.
And Michelle Parker, city clerk.
Okay, would you like to say a few words before I read the proclamation?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you to the mayor and council for the recognition. It is most appreciated, and we really like each other. We love what we do. We're a pretty good team, but we are here to help with public information requests. We also administer elections for the city. Travis and Carla make sure that all of our departments are adhering to our records management and retention policy. Mary Joy makes sure that all of our businesses are in compliance with liquor laws, and you know we wear a lot of hats. But thank you very much for the recognition. It really means a lot.
Well, and it means a lot. Your hard work and your dedication and professionalism means a lot to us and what we do. So thank you. So I'll read the proclamation now. Whereas the office of municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, whereas the office of municipal clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, agencies of government, and at other levels, whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, whereas municipal clerks serve as the information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration and affairs of the office of municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations, whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of municipal clerk. Now, therefore, I, Her Majesty, Mayor of the City of Westminster, on behalf of the entire City Council and staff, do hereby proclaim the week of May 5th through 11th, 2019 Municipal Clerks Week. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Giving out information shortly about all the parties that will be happening. Just kidding. There, put that in there, right there. There we go. We'll squish it. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the next part of the agenda is for what we call citizen communications, a period of time where we allow people to come to the microphone. Again, this is the time that we listen. This is not a back and forth piece. You have up to 5 minutes on any item that you wish to discuss. Unless there is a public hearing scheduled later on in the agenda, then we ask you to hold the comments for that item until we get to that. Tonight, there are no public hearings scheduled, so pretty well anything you want to talk about, we'll listen to. One thing that we do tell you is you cannot use electronic devices to present like a speech or a presentation or placards. If you have an electronic device that you're using because you've made notes on it, that's fine, but not something to enhance a presentation. So I have about 10 people who have signed up to talk tonight. I'll call you, and if you did not sign up, there's still an opportunity for you, but I'll also check to make sure that somebody got worried about they might not want to talk to them, decide they get comfortable with it later on. First one I have up tonight is Mr. Gary Shea. While Mr. Shea's getting ready, just for those of you who haven't been up here before, once you start talking, the green light comes on, yellow one comes on when you have 1 minute left, and the red when your time is up. And if you have a problem, let us know. We'll try to get through those as quickly as we can. So, Mr. Shea, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Atchison, City Councilors, and Mr. Tripp. I am here to ask that you not pass agenda item number 10D, resolution number 11, as written, and reconsider leaving the citizen comments at the current 5-minute maximum. The reason citizens choose to come to speak before council is to express support and/or show appreciation, inform you of a situation, speak as a concerned group, lodge a complaint, or even bare their chest, literally. We've all heard that a number one fear is public speaking. I truly admire and applaud every citizen that feels passionate enough to stand before you. It takes a great deal of courage for some of them. Please don't diminish this important opportunity. I've given you a copy of a 5-minute presentation verbatim I made to City Council on March 27, 2017 regarding unintentional segregation, so you can follow along. The content is still very relevant today. In 2017, I prepared these remarks, even rehearsed the timing to make sure I utilized the entire 5 minutes to effectively convey my message. Believe me, I don't want to be asked to please sit down. Let me see if I can get it done in 3 minutes, and I promise I'll keep my shirt on. Good evening, Mayor Atchison, City Council members, and City Manager Tripp. My name is Gary Shea. I live at 3801 West 76th Avenue in Harris Park neighborhood in original Westminster. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I want to talk specifically about the intense concentration of affordable housing in our community and around South Westminster. For about a decade, I've been watching our community and listening to the affordable housing discussion. It started as a concern, then it was labeled as an issue. Now we hear a term crisis associated with affordable housing. Please let me make it clear. We are not opposed to more affordable housing. In fact, more than any other area in the city of Westminster, we embrace affordable housing. It makes up the majority of our community. It is in our neighborhoods, it is on our blocks, it is in our backyards, and it is in our front yards. These residents are our neighbors, and we embrace that. When talking with these neighbors, we ask, does more affordable housing concentrated in our area help us? The answer is no, it does not. A few years back, the city updated the comprehensive plan and asked for public input. Members of our community reviewed the entire plan to identify aspects that could be changed to have a more positive effect on Westminster. We found 2 areas that we chose to ask the Planning Commission to change. One of those addressed the placement of affordable housing in the city. We asked that the word throughout be added to give the city the tools to help ease the concentration in South Westminster and include it in the rest of the city. The Planning Commission agreed, and the council at that time did too. The current comprehensive land use plan states that affordable housing is encouraged throughout the city. Unfortunately, the word encouraged is a softer approach that allows potential developers to take the option of a buyout instead of building the required affordable housing. The recent housing needs assessment study presented by the City Council stated that one of the biggest challenges to building any affordable housing in the city, other than South Westminster, was overcoming the not in my backyard syndrome. We understand that. The assessment also included maps that geographically illustrated the affordable housing concentration in South Westminster by color-coded dots. Each colored dot represented the location of a different income level of affordable housing. What it did not detail was the density that each dot represented. Also, these maps only detailed affordable housing that lays within the city boundaries, nothing in the surrounding cities. If the city achieves the goal of becoming the regional leader in affordable housing, then we effectively reduce the obligation and burden on our neighboring cities of having to provide any more affordable housing. In fact, we feel like South Westminster might already be the regional leader in affordable housing. I gave you a current development sheets that we produced. This sheet I shared with you is data compiled from the City of Westminster Economic Development website. It lists the current housing developments being built in the city, realized this 2017. There are a total of 26 developments at various stages ranging from single-family detached to multifamily attached and affordable for a total of 3,149 individual units. 24 of those developments represent over 3,000 units that are not in South Westminster, and they do not include any affordable housing units. 2 of those new developments are in South Westminster, and they comprise only affordable housing, which open a total of 142 units within the year. The first 72 units at the Alta project is phase 1 of a total of 3. When this project is completed, built out, it will take a current 199 units to over 400, essentially doubling. Well, that didn't work too well. In closing, I'd like to share with you a recent experience I had. I was at the strategic planning retreat 2 weeks ago and heard Dr. John Nalbandian from the Novak Consulting Group speak. He said something very profound, and I made sure to write it down. He was talking about winners and losers and stated that citizens need to be in the game. If not, they become disenfranchised over time. He said, without that interaction, communication, engagement. The very most you can expect is compliance. Thank you for your time and your consideration. Nailed it.
Mr. Petraglia, are you in the audience? Your name's been scratched out. Did you scratch it out? Okay. I just want to make sure because I found you here twice, but one of them was scratched out. All right. Mr. Terry?
So good evening, council members, mayor, Mr. Tripp. I'm here, Britt Terry with the Friends of Stanley Lake. Want to talk to you a little bit about where we've been in the last couple of weeks. This is now our third trip here, so we're 6 weeks into our work, getting boating back on the lake. Pretty happy that with what we've done and what we've accomplished, and we're going to show you the next step in what we delivered last week, which I appreciate a lot of the feedback that we got on what had been read. We put a lot of work into this stuff. What we did is went through our opportunities report that we presented the last 2 weeks ago. We've nailed that down to where I believe we can come up with a 100% fail-safe way to get boating back on the lake, fixing the tagging system that has been frankly embarrassing over the last 11 years. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and some other members of the Friends of Stanley Lake will get into details there. We did bring some demos. They're outside. We'd encourage you guys to come and look at them. And if you're going to be to tomorrow night's very first task force meeting from the city in 6 weeks, you might come to that. You'll also see that same demo there. We did elect our own task force. We went through nominations. We went through a full election, and it went pretty well. We elected 5 people, which we did give to the city manager, as well as his staff. We were told, thank you very much. Glad you have your task force members, and we're kind of shunned off to the side. Pretty disheartening, to be perfectly honest. We've already met several times. We've come up with the solutions you're going to see out there that could be implemented tomorrow if people really wanted to work on this problem and make it happen. All right? So we'd like to talk about that. When we did elect, the city elected their task force, you got 200 characters. I don't know how many of you tweet, or president tweets. 250 characters is how much you get in a tweet to tell yourself and tell the city why you want to be on the task force. That's crazy. Characters are free. Why people weren't allowed to tell the city, people who are putting people on a task force that we were supposed to be recognized on, given 200 characters. I don't know what's going on there, but it sure doesn't feel good. With that, let's get back to solutions, because that's why we're here. We believe we've got fail-safe solutions. You're going to get a report from one of our other members here in a minute. We've run this by about 100 people. Every one of them looks at it and goes, man, that's so simple. That's clever. That's implementable. That's bulletproof. It's fail-safe. We get great looks like that. When you go through how easy it was to defeat the previous system, and I'd encourage you guys to go look at this. You want to go look at how tags were dismantled? You can YouTube that. We're not going to show you that, but it's very easy to do also, and there's YouTubes in the public space. Not for Stanley Lake, but for anybody using the tags that Stanley Lake's been using for 11 years. We've got fail-safe ways to fix those tags. Swage on the end, fail-proof tape, tamper-proof tape on top of that. We'd encourage people to kind of look at that. We're going to do our best to get this task force to give us a day there too. Okay? So I wanted to bring up just a couple of things. I've said a couple of things about our lake. I think the way that we've tagged boats for 11 years is frankly embarrassing. If you go look at what's been done, I think the Rangers knew it was embarrassing. It was a best face effort at best. Cheating has been going on since day one that those tags were on that lake. It was so easy to do. Remove the D-ring on the front of your boat, tags loose, go do whatever you want, come back, put your D-ring right back in. 2 bolts, 5/8 inch, drill behind it, takes 30 seconds. No one thought of that? We care about 300,000 people's drinking water, and now is when we think about that? I think we need to take a closer look. I think it can be done 100% fail-safe, and we're willing to work until we get to there. Okay? So the fact that we are where we're at, there are no mussels in the lake. Thank God. I wouldn't say it's good planning. I said we're lucky. Dang lucky. We need to readdress that system. It should have been right by the people that were managing the lake. The fact that they didn't do it, it's our job now to go do it again and do it right. Okay, with that, there will be some people in the past. That's all the past. Let's work about solutions. I think we can get there, guys. If we just look, and gals, sorry, if we just look at the opportunities out there for us, we can tag just about as fast as you used to be able to tag. Let's go ahead and maybe use the state software system that tells you what other lakes you were on. I think that was already in the plan. Let's decontaminate better. Let's do all the things we could do better. It shouldn't cost much money at all, and if it is cost, it's borne on the boaters. So I just welcome and thank you guys for your opportunity to let us work with you, and we really hope that this task force is actually a way that we can be represented in this decision making. Thank you. Boom.
I have a Mr. or a Mrs. Katt, K-A-T-T. There you go. And if I recall, it's Doctor.
So I think part of my last name got cut off there, but it's Katapuram, so I'll write that fully in if you need. So my name is Taj Katapuram, and I am here in support of the boaters on Stanley Lake. That document that Britt put together and that's being handed out before you is a result of extensive research and analysis. And with the Friends of Stanley Lake, my husband is the one who put that presentation together. Like a good wife, I read it over and over again, but I still think you might have got the second to last version. So I apologize in advance if there's anything in there that comes off as cheeky or offensive. The intention was really just to clearly outline the problems as presented and how we feel they can be addressed. We believe everything in that document is factual, and if we are missing any references, please let us know. So as any risk auditor or assessor will tell you, preventive measures must include several layers of control, and they need to be tested regularly and also be able to be measured for effectiveness. As a physician who practices nuclear medicine, I know this to be very true because that's very dangerous stuff. But the gist in this document is we believe the city of Westminster honestly did believe the controls for Stanley Lake were adequate, but we now know that they weren't. And additional layers of prevention were never updated and or implemented. So we put together this document to kind of hopefully address all of that. So the required addition for boaters, as described in that document, we feel can be executed with very little effort and minimal change to the existing system. I know politicians tend to ask a lot about money, so the fiscal note, I will say, it should be zero. The entire responsibility for all those recommendations fall on the expense of the boaters. We believe that everything presented in that document not only addresses and resolves all the concerns that the city has stated, but it takes the level of the zebra mussel prevention higher than, as far as we know, any other body of water nationally. If the concerns with trailered boats were honestly stated in whole, then implementing the tasks as described in this document really should suffice to allow us to do our part to keep the drinking water safe. And we could, as Britt said, pretty much open the boating season tomorrow. And that auditing process described there could make sure that everything is working accordingly. If you don't feel any of the resolutions are accurate, please do contact us, and please let us be included as to why. We know there is a task force, but we are willing to continue to work with everybody. And we look forward to communication on this matter. And just on a personal note, with the proclamation for the Safe Drinking Water Week, we firmly believe in that, and we too want safe drinking water, and that's why we've presented this for you. Thank you.
Mr. Petraglia, you're up again.
I'd like to say thank you to the mayor and the council for the opportunity to talk. I am a Westminster resident, so I do drink the water, and water is the number one concern without a doubt. Based on the reports that were just handed out, I truly believe the Friends of Stanley Lake Task Force did an excellent job in evaluating the situation and finding pretty much 100% effective tamper-proof solution that could be implemented. Obviously, the present tagging system has been compromised due to simple removable parts, and it has been in effect since 2007 without any revisions. Luckily, there are no mussels on the lake. Thank God, it was caught in time. But working together would be welcomed. As they said, there's demos that are here. We will come and speak, show how we've ruled out the ability to hack the system and why we believe this is 100% tamper-proof. Although the solution is 100 times better than what is in place now, it does need to be implemented, and then every year at a minimum needs to be reevaluated. Working together and making sure 100% that this goes smoothly. Audit, remove tags, software systems, introduce tampered tags as tests, kind of like sending minors into a liquor store to test ID checking. We can do this as a team if you guys will let us help. And I really believe working together, we can safeguard our system. We can get boats back on the lake and open up the community, the boating community, and continue with this relatively quickly. So I think they did a great job. I think the report is very detailed, and I just thank you for the opportunity and hope we can work together. Thank you.
Ms. Railsback.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to listen to me. I'm representing Clearview Estates, which is actually in Jefferson County, not the city of Westminster. But we are under the sphere of influence with the water treatment facility. So I'm here today to talk about my concerns. First, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. Governor Adams, both of them, were my ancestors, the 5th governor of Colorado and the 25th governor of Colorado, and they were highly involved in water treatment facilities. The Big Thompson is named after them. Also, my grandfather drove the first horse-drawn fire engine in Denver. So I'm very, very proud of my history. But right now I'm feeling not so proud of what's been going on. The main thing is we were not involved early enough in the process for the selection of the sites. A stakeholder should be identified right up front, and we're definitely a stakeholder. Even though we're just on the edge and we're not in City of Westminster, I have Westminster Water, I work in Westminster, I have friends in Westminster, so I am under the sphere of influence of Westminster. So I'm here to represent those that are not in Westminster, but are still being highly affected by the decisions and weren't involved in the process. Some of my major concerns is the elimination of the open space. The Overland Trail has lots of rich history, and you can tell I care passionately about history. I don't think that's been considered how important that history is. Just down the road a little bit was the stagecoach stop where Ulysses S. Grant stayed. And to overlook that for technical reasons is why I'm here to speak. There are other opportunities. If stakeholders would have been identified in the very beginning, I believe the outcome would have been different because we would have had representation. We had no representation in the process. I think the ratings would have been different, and at least at the minimum, we would have understood the decisions, which we still don't. And at best, maybe better decisions would have been made. One of the things I'm concerned about is the plutonium. We've already been in a class action suit. I don't want to be involved in another one. And that site is downwind from the Rocky Flats and is identified as having probable plutonium. It's probably safe, I think, I don't know, if we don't disturb the soil. But if we build the water treatment plant, we're disturbing the soil, and you're exposing us all to even more cancer, which we have a lot of anyway in our neighborhood. The other concern I have is safety. It's right in the path of the Airport, what if a plane crashes into the water treatment facility? It's smack in the middle of that path, and there has been crashes. I'm concerned about the safety and the traffic. The roads are owned by Jefferson County. I don't know how that's going to happen. I haven't been told how in the world we're going to work with Jefferson County in the streets and to have this water treatment facility. I'm also concerned about property values, obviously. This is the only site that is surrounded by a rural residential area. I've visited other water treatment plants. They're all in industrial commercial areas or on the edge of a residential area. This will be right smack in the middle. And we have more than one. We have 3 water treatment facilities if this goes into our neighborhood. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And indirectly, you're all here because of my ancestors. So people matter.
Mr. Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, and Mr. Tripp. I'm also here to talk about the Water 2025 project. So there's really two large neighborhoods impacted by this if it goes onto the Overland Trail open space, which is Mandalay Gardens and Clearview Estates. And last week, you were kind enough to host an open house on Thursday night, which about 90% of the neighbors in our neighborhood attended. So our neighborhood attended it, and while we were there, we spoke with many of the city representatives and expressed concerns about the scoring of Site 3018, also known as the Overland Trail Open Space, and apparent inconsistencies in the scoring of this site as compared to other sites. Our concern is focused on the score assigned in the category of community. So there's actually 3 different scores that went into each one of these sites, and you could have got a score of 1 to 5. Amazingly, the Overland Trail Open Space got a 15, and the Hahn property got a 15, so they both got perfect scores. There are subtle differences in the way the community criteria is described in different documents provided by the city. The one-page matrix that explains the ranking states the following: does not impact a critical community asset, such as parks, open space, established residential, focus or redevelopment areas, prime commercial areas, or schools. The possible scores are 1, 3, or 5. The low score is for a site that impacts a critical community asset and cannot be mitigated. And the high score is for a site that does not impact a critical community asset and no mitigation is required. In the initial round of scoring, the Overland Trail Open Space was given a 5. If we examine the site on its own merits, with no comparison of the scoring of other sites, a score of 5 for community does not align with the criterion. The site impacts 2 community assets, a designated open space area and an established residential neighborhood. Also, the site is not just near residential, it's fully embedded in the neighborhood with 360 degrees of adjacent residential property surrounding it. There appears to have been more attempt to grade the value of the open space as well, given that the city acquired this open space in 2012 from Bonnie Stewart, and it was a top priority for acquisition at that time. We find no good reason to conclude that this area would be considered lower in value. Based on this analysis, Site 3218 should have received a community score of 1. In comparing the score of Site 3218 with other sites, we find inconsistency in the scoring. In the initial round, 22 out of 44 sites were given a community score of 1. The scoring matrix notes that just 1 community asset for each site, when Site 3218 appears to impact 2 community assets. It is important to note that all 22 sites were eliminated in the initial round of scoring. Examining the actual total scores from that round, it's clear that Site 3218, the Overland Trail Open Space, would have been eliminated if it had been given a community score of 1. In a later round of scoring for 9 remaining sites, the community category was modified to community compatibility. Still 1, 3, or 5, but now the low score is for a site that is incompatible with surrounding existing development. And the high score is for compatible with surrounding existing and proposed development. Once again, the Overland Trail open space was given a 5. And we believe it should have received a score of 1. The greatest inconsistency in scoring of site 3218 can be seen in comparing to site 2915 at 88th and Lowell. Both sites were scored 5 on community in the initial round and made it to the final 9. However, in scoring the final 9, site 2915 was given a community score of 1. Because of the neighborhood on the west side of Lowell, while site 3218 was given a 5. So the site with a suburban neighborhood across the street on one side, 2915, is deemed incompatible, while the site that is fully embedded in a more rural neighborhood is deemed compatible. We're having trouble making sense of this discrepancy. Generally speaking, we think Westminster has conducted a rigorous and thorough process. One critique we have is that your community input effort prior to last Thursday night's meeting was limited to general input.
Mr. Henderson, I'm sorry, but your time is up, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Thank you.
Mr. Rick?
Thank you for allowing me a little bit of your time to speak tonight. I guess first I'm going to give a shout out to the first gentleman about changing the 5 minutes down to 3 minutes. I'm for 5 minutes because I like to come here and get some things off my chest. I hope to not do it every 2 weeks for the next year, but if I have to, I will, because I am still very, very frustrated. Stanley Lake. 11 weeks ago, you guys identified 24 people who cheated the system. 24 people who found a loophole. Instead of shutting down the loopholes, adding some layers, it's a common theme. I'm not saying anything new that anybody else hasn't said. The city spent approximately 6 weeks, by my guess, I don't know when it started and didn't, compiling an extremely detailed 13-page report. There was cost projections, revenue projections, analysis of park usage. There's a lot of good time and energy got put into that report. Why didn't we put the same time into just closing the loopholes that caused the problem? 5 weeks since then, we have done, by my estimation or by my visibility, I guess I don't see what goes on behind closed doors, we have set up one task force meeting. They haven't even met yet. That's 11 weeks. And I just don't understand. Please remember, there are in the vicinity of at least 10,000 people that are impacted by this, many of whom vote, many of whom are still sitting in limbo. We have no idea what to do about our summer. We're just sitting there. Should we make plans? Should we not? I can't make plans. I can't because I don't want to go anywhere. And then you decide to open the lake. I have no idea. I have no visibility into what's going on. And all we want to do is give you guys $500,000 of our hard-earned money and give the local communities easily double, triple, quadruple that. I have no idea. I mean, you're sending me somewhere else. I'm going to go somewhere else for gas, for restaurants, for food. My guests aren't going to come here. And I really it's bewildering to me why we can't take immediate steps without waiting for the task force. Install the multi-state database that you use to find the 24 cheaters. Install it today. Start running your CL numbers through it. You can do that automated every morning. You can install that today. You don't have to wait. You don't need a task force to tell you that that makes sense. Agree that every boat needs an additional 2 methods of verifying that they haven't been on any other body of water. Just agree they need 2. Don't agree on what they are, because I fear that the task force is going to be required to spend the next 6 months trying to figure out every perfect system there is. Just agree every boat needs 2, plus the database. That's 3 layers of protection. That's redundancy. Then let the task force go and review methods and slowly approve methods. And even if there's issues found, take methods off the list. And then any boater that wants to come to the ranger office and say, I picked these 2 approved methods and are certified by a ranger, you sell them a permit. It's not that hard. You just have to agree on the framework. And also, very critical to the framework is punishment. There should be, $10,000 fine, lifetime ban. I would even put language into the contract that says we can sue you for liability for an ensuing infestation should it occur. I don't know if that'll hold water, but I'm certainly not going to sign that contract and try to cheat. I don't want you guys have bigger pockets than I do. I don't want your lawyers coming after me. These things, this is redundancy, this is layers, this is a framework that I believe you can agree on today. We've spent 11 weeks. We haven't closed a loophole, we haven't even agreed on a framework. I'd really like a direct answer why the city can't just make that basic decision and let the task force work on methods and then convince you what methods do and don't work. 3 layers of redundancy should be sufficient. Sorry for spending 5 minutes, but it's getting more frustrating because the clock is ticking and it's been 11 weeks. And we haven't done anything to solve the problem. Thank you.
Mr. Work? And I know you've got a demonstration piece, but that needs to stay out. You can take it outside and we can come look at it, but not up here. Tell your son I appreciate the work he did on it.
My name's Kevin. Again, thank you for allowing me to work on my fear of public speaking. So, we've been working really hard on the task force. Excuse me. I believe we come up with some solid solutions that could be implemented very cheaply. Again, nothing that hasn't been said before. I encourage you guys on the break or even after, we'll stick around. Pretty much these solutions that we've come up with, we've run by all the major boat dealers. We've called engineers, and there's no way without visual signs of evidence of tampering that these can be broken. We've taken the two problems that the boat has. The boat has to stay on the trailer, so the wire has to be attached to the boat. That has been circumvented. And then the actual tag system has to be proven that it can't be tampered with, and it has. And we've come up with layers upon layers that are quickly, cheap, and show signs of tampering. So as long as the ranger is doing their job, they can show signs of tampering. And boaters knowing that that's out there, they're not going to want to tamper with it to risk the fines or not being able to be on the lake. I think we've proven that boaters are willing to do whatever it takes to keep our water safe. We're willing to take on the added costs, drill extra tiny little hole in our boat to prove that our system out there is not going to be circumvented. We're willing to do what we got to do to help the city so we can all win. I know there's other concerns. I know, sorry, see what I'm saying here. Oh, also one thing to note, our system also is a little safer for the rangers. Right now, the current system, the ranger is tagging your boat between the truck and the trailer. Trucks are off, they stay on, and most people don't put them in park. So the rangers are kneeling down, they're behind the truck, in front of the boat, putting on a tag. A lot of danger there. This new system that require the tags in the rear of the boat, the ranger's now behind the boat. A lot more safe for the ranger if something were to happen. So not only are we helping the current system be more bulletproof, we're also helping the rangers stay safe, keeping your assistant infection. And the state's looking at us. And this, I have no doubt that if you guys take what we're saying is foolproof, that states will follow what City of Westminster is doing. I've talked to a few of the rangers, a few of the high up rangers. I won't name anybody, but they have seen all 24 of these tags, and they all told me that every one of them is visible. It was hard to see, but they were all visible that they were tampered with. So with this electronic system or not, it could have been prevented. We can implement things to help the rangers see these. It's a simple, I don't know if it's training or maybe a magnifying glass or something just to help these small holes that are being circumvented. 9 days. 9 days is when our season would start. So everybody's getting really antsy out here. And in 9 days, I have a feeling we're going to see more people to these meetings. And mainly my demonstration for you guys was just to catch up the council on speed on what the current system was, how people were circumventing it, and then our new system, and then just how easy it is to implement. It was a real simple demonstration. It would take less than 5 minutes to show you guys. So, in summary, I believe we come up with a better system. We'll bring this system and these models to the task force meeting tomorrow. I heard that's open. Maybe you guys can tell us exactly where that's at or where that's meeting. We'll bring everything, answer all our questions there if we're allowed to speak. I'm not sure how that forum works. Maybe we can get some enlightenment on that. And thanks, you guys. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Okay, that's the group that had signed up at the beginning of the meeting. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward at this time with any item? I got one coming in the back. I got 3 of you so far. Hang on just a minute.
Good evening. My name is Rich Seymour, 9705 Kipling Street, Mayor and Council and staff. I'm here to urge the council to retain the 5-minute comment period. Having attended these meetings for over 3 years now, we find that most of the comments are around 3 minutes. But those comments, as we have seen tonight, that are particularly of importance and have more direct meaning and more research behind them, and of course passion behind them, need more than 3 minutes. We've seen tonight great examples of that, direct presentations that take 5 minutes. I've heard a couple comments in regards to why change to 3 minutes. One of them was, it's similar to what other municipalities around us do. Well, I've witnessed for several years now that Westminster Council likes to do things the Westy way, which is a better way. And so I believe that 5 minutes is better than 3 minutes. And also, as far as the time management part, too. And controlling the time and length of meetings for the citizens so that they, too, are not here till late at night. But I think it's important, too, that council remembers, and as I have been told directly, that's what we all sign up for. So I greatly appreciate your consideration in retaining 5 minutes, and I appreciate your time.
For those of you who didn't sign up, I do need your name and address for the record once you start talking.
My name's Shelley Gojas. I live at 8015 West 106th Avenue in Westminster. And I was just going to finish up Dan Henderson's comments for him since he ran out of time. And I think overall what we'd really like to do have reviewed is this scoring process that had taken place when evaluating each one of these water treatment facility sites. So here's where Dan left off. Generally speaking, we think Westminster's conducted a rigorous and thorough process. One critique we have is that your community input effort prior to last Thursday night was limited to general input. We think it would have been better to obtain more site-specific community input earlier in the process and before you pared it down to just 2 sites. The 9 sites might have been too cumbersome, so maybe an interim step down to 4 to 5 sites and then separate meetings for each site would have been more effective. We also think your citizen committee could have been useful in discussing and evaluating the community score for each site. We request in response to our concerns and are hopeful that you will reconsider the community scores given to the Overland Trail open space and eliminate it from further consideration. Thank you.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Bill Baraya. I live at 8102 West 109th Avenue, Westminster. I live approximately 300 yards from the proposed water treatment plant at the Overland Trails open space. It's really a misnomer because there are no trails in the Westminster Overland Trails open space. I run a lot in that area, and all your signs show proposed trails, but nothing's ever been done. I've lived there 8 years. Now we're going to try to we're going to take an open space away, and there's been some talk about having a trail system around the proposed plant. First of all, everyone should know what an open space is all about. It's for a trail system, possibly, environmental protection, possibly, views, and for a lot of other reasons, an open space to enjoy, for the community around that. My question, why would you even consider taking open space away? I recently spoke to Rod Larson, who's the manager of the open space in Westminster. He tells me this is the absolute first time that you have ever decided to take open space away for a proposed city utility or something else of that necessity. First of all, what will be the ramifications of something like this in the future for taking away open space? Why would you even consider it? You made the purchase in 2011, 2012, and you said that this would be open space. It's not going to be open space anymore. It's going to be a water treatment plant if you choose that site. I also understand that open space, if taken away, would be put someplace else. What good is that to me if you move it 5 to 10 miles away? Do I have to drive 5 to 10 miles away to an outlying area where it's more convenient for you to have your water treatment plant? What about yourselves? If you live, I know you all live probably in Westminster. You live probably close to adjacent open spaces or very close. What happens if that open space was taken away from you? Would you like it if you had construction, water treatment plants? What if it was something else that the city had to put in that space? So I guess in closing, I just want to say that I think you need to all think where you live and if you would like to have the open space near you taken away for something that really doesn't need to happen. So please think about that the next time you vote, the next time you think about what you're going to put in open space. There are other areas that you could consider. That other area that is being considered would be a much better property to put your water treatment plant. It's a multi-use area. And frankly, if I were the person that owned that property, I'd be out talking to developers right now, because if you have to buy that property, he wants the price to go higher. If I were living around that area, I would say I would rather have the water treatment plant than have apartment buildings and shopping centers. Think about that, please, and maybe we can come to a better solution than taking away the Overland Park trail system. Thank you.
All right, do I have anyone else? Yes, sir, come on up.
My name's Len Loudis. I live at 7795 West 106. My wife and I take great pleasure in how precious Westminster water is to us. Quite literally, we pay out-city rates, so it also tastes good. In any case, from a slightly different perspective, we live a few hundred yards horizontally from the proposed water treatment facility. I want to comment vertically. I'm a pilot, and I've flown for 50 years, and I only look 4, actually. I've flown for 50 years, and the water treatment facility is right off the approach end of runway 12 left. So quite literally, on a day like today, we'll break out of the clouds 400 feet above. that facility. If a plane crashes there, and there have been numerous crashes over the many years Jeffco has been, or Rocky Mountain Metro has been there, we're really going to have a mess on our hands. So, all I have to say, put it in your thought process and be afraid. You know, cautious at least. Thanks.
Okay, this is going to be the final call. Anyone else that'd like to come forward? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming tonight. Moving on to our next agenda item, this is a report of city officials. Mr. Tripp?
Yes, Mayor Atchison, members of council, and members of the public. First of all, thank you for everyone coming out this evening on the multiple issues that were discussed, and for the work that we've had together in public meetings, and the civility, frankly, that everybody has shown through this process. We really appreciate that. I'm going to ask Deputy Manager Opie to speak a little bit to the water issue here, just to give some information about tomorrow, the meeting that's happening here in the next couple of days, have her give some specifics. But before she does that, I just want to say that, and reassure everybody that's in the room, because this comment really is for everyone. This job of providing governance and leadership and management of the city is one that many, many times pits the needs of the many versus the values of groups, of individual groups. And in this case, it's very evident in both cases that we've got valuable use of the Stanley Lake for water recreation and for other recreational users, and it's significantly a water supply. Everybody's agreed that nobody wants to jeopardize that. But we're going to be thorough in making sure that we serve all those interests. And really, we try to meet the needs of the many, and at the same time, provide opportunities for the few relative to the many. It's the way a city, I think, functions to provide a high quality of life. It isn't a zero-sum game. So we're trying to do that in both of these issues, provide a water treatment plant, provide safe drinking water, and at the same time, protect your quality of life. And I can assure you, that's the process that we're in both regards. So just that general statement, and folks, I want to reassure you that we're working hard on both of these items. So, Barbara?
Thank you. Just to reiterate, there will be a meeting tomorrow night of the Stanley Lake Boating Task Force. It will be held in the council boardroom, which is the room right there. Overflow capacity obviously will be in this room for those who wish to attend. It is scheduled from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The task force was selected by the Parks, Recreation, Libraries, and Open Space Advisory Board that City Council appoints. That board utilized the list of approximately 40-plus individuals who volunteered at the April 2nd meeting. And then 5 members have been selected to serve on that task force. There are a series of staff members and other individuals of expertise that will be serving as resources to that task force, but the task force is made of citizen members. The meetings will be recorded and available online after the meeting, as well as meeting minutes. The focus is on identifying solutions. All information submitted to City Council that has been received to date has been distributed to that task force. The new information provided tonight will also be distributed and shared as insights and opportunities for review. Again, just the focus is for this task force is focused on restoring trailered boats to the lake without compromising the quality of water. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Tripp? Okay. Members of council, are there any comments or questions you have? Mr. Bowles?
Yeah, I'd like to take this opportunity to commend the city manager and staff for doing a interdepartmental, a strategic effort to find ways to get more patrols out in our neighborhoods. It was a group of, I think, budget office, police department, fleet management, yourself. It was innovative, creative. It was across departments, and that was in your notes for this week. So I just want to commend you and say good work. Keep up the good work in that area. I really like that. So thank you.
Ms. Sykes?
Thank you. I agree. Thank you for that effort. I wanted to speak and say thank you to all of our residents who have been coming out. I do think it's wonderful to see how engaged you are, how innovative, and really willing to work on this issue. I know that we all start from that same place of wanting to protect our water. And that's our ultimate responsibility. So thank you for understanding that. I do want to highlight a couple of events. This Saturday, there is a drug take-back that's going to be at our Public Safety Center, which is just next door. It's from 10 to 11. It's a great way to get rid of some of those prescription drugs that are unused in a safe way. So I hope all of you will take advantage of that. Of interest to maybe those in this room tonight, on Thursday, May 2nd, there is a Water 2025 meeting, community meeting, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the City Park Rec Center. I think City Manager Tripp said it well, where it's always important to balance all of the different initiatives within the city. That said, I do know that this is a city that really does our best to try to value all of the amenities that our community loves, such as open space, and don't take anything that would diminish those lightly. So, we have, no decision has been made. These are things that we are considering, but we tried to have a very open, community-centered process, and your input is continuing to help make those decisions. So thank you.
The other members of council, Mr. DeMott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to also thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope that you enjoyed your Easter and you had a chance to spend it with family. As at my house, we spent it with family celebrating Jesus Christ, who we follow in my home. Next, I'd like to invite all of you to my next Policy and Pilsner event. It's going to be on April 30th at the Cocobelli Brewing Company. That's at 88th and Harland. It's at 6:30, and that's basically an opportunity where I'm accessible to you, and you can come and meet other people who live in the city who want to talk about issues that face the city. I want to also take a minute to thank all the members of law enforcement and our local schools across the metro area for the actions they took last week to protect our kids from the dangerous individual who was loose in the metro area. This was on the cusp of us all remembering the people lost 20 years ago at Columbine, and I'd like to take a moment to reflect on that and those people who were lost that 20 years ago. I'm sure if you're like me and you're a native here, we all probably remember where we were when we heard about that horrible event. Last but not least, I would also like to recognize the people in Sri Lanka who lost their lives as they celebrated Easter. And I wanted to take this opportunity to basically say how grateful I am that we live in a country where we don't have that type of risk as often as people do in other countries. And we can worship as we see fit, be able to believe what we want to believe. And I'd ask that each of you, if you so choose, join with me on National Day of Prayer, which this year is May 2nd. I will be part of an event at the Crossings Church on 104th and Federal at 7 a.m., where I've been invited to pray for the federal government. So National Day of Prayer is something that's done all across the country, where people of all faiths are invited to basically practice whatever it is, whether you're meditating or praying or whatever it is that you see fit for however you believe. And I hope that you all take the opportunity to join me.
Other comments from council? Well, I come bearing some decent news. I have received a letter from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, commonly referred to as HUD, and we have received our notification of our community development block grants for 2019, and the city of Westminster has been awarded $604,141. So those are part of our community development block grant program. And those funds are now available to us, so staff, find ways to spend it. We don't want to give it back. All right, no other comments from council. At this time, I'll refer you to your packet. That we have a consent agenda list of items 8A through. What? Yeah. Okay. We've had a request for a short break, so if you will, Mr. Work, are you still out there? That's all right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take about a full 5 minutes, so if any of us get a chance, we can stop by the presentation the young man created outside, and we'll be back in just about 5 minutes. All right, just for the record, this is the 2019 April 22nd City Council meeting. We have reconvened after a short break. The Next item up on the agenda is consent agenda. This is a group of routine matters acted on by a single motion and the vote. We have discussed these prior to it, but I did not get a chance to see if there was any item on the consent agenda that was asked to be recalled and voted on separately. Council, is there any item that you have asked to have removed? All right, seeing none, Mr. Demott, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the city council adopt the consent agenda items 8A through F.
Ms. Scully.
Second.
Motion and a second. This will be a vote of the lights that you have in front of you, please. Motion passes on a 7-0 vote. First item up is on item 10A. This is first reading of Council's Bill number 20, amendment. Mr. Demott, you're still up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to pass Councilor Bill number 20 on first reading, amending subsection 7-1-8F of the Westminster Municipal Code, standardizing the order of candidate names to be printed on the Jefferson and Adams County ballots.
Ms. Sykes?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by council? Mr. Demott?
I just want to thank the clerk's office for bringing this forward, because those of us in the last election who saw this get messed up because of the different ballot naming, that was an extra stressful night on top of a stressful night, so thank you.
Mr. Bowles?
Yeah, thank you for bringing this forward. This is an important issue that we need to take care of. I do want to add, though, that I have asked that we, whenever we can, take these issues in front of boards and commissions. I understood this one maybe didn't quite fit that exactly. Just in the future, whatever we can do, I think we should. So thank you.
Any other comments by council? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
Atchison.
Yes.
Demott.
Yes.
Haney. Yes. Mankey.
Yes.
Sides.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Vols.
Yes.
And it squeaks by on a 7-0 vote. Next item up will be resolution number 9. Ms. Mankey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to adopt resolution number 9, authorizing the assignment of $5,925,885 of the city's private activity bond allocation for 2019 to the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority for the qualified purposes set forth in the resolution, and authorize the mayor and city attorney to execute the necessary documents.
Mr. Demott?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any comments or questions by council? Seeing none, this is also a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
Demott.
Yes.
Haney. Yes. Mankey.
Yes.
Sides.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Vols.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes. And this one also passes on a 7-0 vote. Next item up is adoption of resolution number 10. Ms. Sykes?
Thank you. I move to adopt resolution number 10 for an updated drought management plan that provides the guidance under which the city manager will declare a drought and implement drought restrictions.
Mr. Bowles?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any questions or comments by council? Mr. Demott?
No questions, sir, but just a comment. So I will be voting no on this evening, as I voted no on an item later on that is the ordinance piece of this. And I just wanted to share my reasoning. On this gives the city manager the duty to implement the different levels of drought management, which, as I said before, I'm uncomfortable with that going from council to the city manager. The other thing I wanted to point out, whereas 99% of this drought management plan I think is great, and I'm really proud that they've come forward with it. One of the things that was brought to my attention as to why we wanted the city manager to be the one to call drought levels was because we didn't want it to be politicized. In this plan, I find that inconsistent, as the fact that political forces is a indicator that is pointed out in the plan. So I find that inconsistent. But my main objection is the fact that the city council isn't the ones deciding the final, when we're in the different levels of drought.
Any other comments questions from council? If there are none, Ms. Parker, I believe this is also a roll call vote.
Haney. Yes. Mankey.
Yes.
Sides.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Vols.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes.
Demott.
No.
Okay, motion passes on a 6-1 vote. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of resolution number 11. We are open for a motion. Ms. Sykes.
I move to adopt resolution number 11, revising the city council's rules and regulations.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bowles. I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions from council? Ms. Haney?
Yes, I'm having an issue with this particular resolution. I certainly support the majority of it. I do have a difficult time with reducing from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. My concern is the perception that might have within the community, and I have a concern with that, so I will be voting no.
Mr. DeMont?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I share Councilor Haney's concern here, and I know when we came up with this and it was first passed by us in strategic planning that I voiced my dislike for changing the minutes. I think that by and large this item has a lot of good stuff in this resolution, but unfortunately I'm going to be voting no because I think that we should be leaving the time at the 5 minutes for citizen communication. And I would just note, tonight, out of the 12 or 13 people who came to speak, only 4 of them would have been able to go under the 3-minute period, and one of those was just finishing somebody else's comment. So I think the 5 minutes is appropriate, and I unfortunately will be voting no because of that.
Ms. Scully?
So I guess I have a point of order question. I am wondering, is it possible to do an amendment to take the 3-minute out and put the 5-minute back in?
Yes.
Then I would like to move.
Hang on a second, let me make sure. Mr. Frankel?
Mr. Mayor, I would recommend that the person who makes the motion would be the one to accept any amendment that's proposed.
Understood that part, but there's no issue with making an amendment at this point, is my question.
That's correct, as long as the maker of the motion accepts an amendment.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to
Why
stumble.
don't you state your motion first, and then we'll see if it's accepted.
Okay. I would like to make a friendly amendment to change the proposed 3 minutes to 5 minutes for public speaking. I don't know if I did that right, but I tried.
Okay. All right. Ms. Seitz and Mr. Bowles, it will require an approval from both of you as the maker and the second of the motion to accept a friendly amendment. So, Ms. Seitz?
Yes, but I'd like to do a comment afterwards.
Yeah, I would accept that as well.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I've been on city council for 5 years, and when this first was proposed to us, I shared the concerns of both Councilor DeMont and Councilor Haney, because I think that public speaking is hard. It is a very courageous act to come up and advocate for something, and this is not people's home turf. It's a big deal to come and stand up here. And I thought if someone's willing to do that, let's give them as much time and respect and deference so that they can get their point across. However, I had multiple issues where I saw people come prepared to speak and actually have to leave because by allowing each individual so much time, we weren't able to get to the number of individuals who came. One of those individuals is actually sitting to my right. Councilor Mankey, before she was on this council, came to speak to us and actually had to leave. I was at the state capitol to testify on Friday, and a woman there said, "Oh, I came to testify once at your city council, but I had to leave because there were so many people there I couldn't have my voice heard." And so my goal had been to make it more equitable, to allow more voices at the table, particularly people who have challenges with childcare or with their work, and it is harder for them to sit and attend every single city council meeting. They don't have the ability to have to make their own time, their own schedule like that. So I respect the desire for 5 minutes. I do think that there was a benefit to moving to 3 minutes. It is the standard. It's what they have at the state capitol. It's what our neighboring communities have. but I'm willing to accept this amendment. But I do think it comes with consequences, and I don't think that additional speech is a benefit that this actually allows.
Other comments in regards to the amendment that has been offered? Ms. Mankey?
Yes, I just want to say as well that I value the engagement of our public highly, and very much value the people's opinions and thoughts and ideas and information that they provide us up when they come to speak in front of us. That being said, I was going to be in favor of voting to change to 3 minutes. It was something that had been discussed by council already in our strategic planning, and I felt that, to me, the most important part is that everyone gets their voice heard and not the length of time. And so my feeling was it was a good trade-off to be able to have everyone's voice heard, not have anyone have to leave without being able to speak, as well as being able to be a very more efficient and productive governance where we can really as well make sure we get to our agenda items and get the business done that we need to do as counselors. So I was in favor, but I also respect and the 5 minutes as well.
Ms. Scully?
Thank you. And thank you, Councilor Mankey and Mayor Pro Tem. So I think you've made very valid points, and I respect that. I've always been kind of torn on this, to be perfectly honest, because I see the benefit of 5 minutes. I know that the public should have a voice, and I want them to be able to express their opinions and their thoughts for as long as it takes. Honestly, I would be willing to listen to you for hours. Because I think that some of the most beautiful things are said in front of our podium. It is truly a gift to be able to sit here and see people overcome fear and make themselves vulnerable and express their concerns, and that's amazing to watch. I also want more people to be able to have a voice. 3 minutes seemed reasonable, to be perfectly honest, but I did a lot of research today on debate and speech, and most of the articles I found suggested that 4 to 5 minutes was a more logical time, because it takes people, as evidenced by my own speech right here, about that much time to get into what they're trying to say, and I can respect that. I don't want anybody's voice to be shut out. I don't want you to be cut off, and I don't want you to not get to speak because somebody else got 5 minutes. But I heard an outcry today, and I respect our residents, and I respect them when they say they don't agree with something we're doing. This is one I feel I can compromise on. I would rather give the benefit of the doubt to the people who are here almost every Monday night speaking in front of us. They feel they need 5 minutes. I want to give them 5 minutes. Tonight, Kevin Burke was my hero. He stood up and said that he was overcoming his fear of public speaking. And I love that. You know, we all have a lot of fears in life, and it's hard to overcome those. And so I will be voting in favor of keeping the 5 minutes.
Are there other comments by council? All right, Ms. Parker, we will be taking a roll call vote on the amendment only at this point, and that amendment would be to leave the proposed change of speaking time at 5 minutes versus moving it to 3. Okay. I'm watching
Mr. Mayor, we believe that the vote should be, since the amendment was already accepted, that the vote should be on the resolution with the amendment as edited from the friendly amendment. Sorry,
Okay,
did that make sense?
Okay. That amendment does not affect anything else in the proposed change, so if we take one vote, that covers both pieces.
That is correct. The friendly amendment that was made by Councilor Scully stated to adopt the resolution, changing the 3 minutes back to 5 minutes, but accepting all the rest of the resolution as written is implied.
All right, it will be a roll call vote. Is there any other comments before we go into the vote from council? based on just the amendment, not what was in the rest of it. And I think it's the same way it was in before. Those who had an objection to one statement in it are going to be forced to vote against the whole thing. So how do we deal with it?
So, Mr. Mayor, I don't think anyone is obligated to vote in any specific way. I think that with that amendment, each council member is free to vote how they choose to vote.
That's not my question. I'll use an example of myself. I'm not in favor of keeping it at 5. And because of the amendment that's been offered, there was no vote on the amendment, it was just offered. Then right now, it's there as an offer, but it hasn't been accepted.
So I think if this motion passes, then you would have the resolution as drafted with the change from 3 to 5 minutes.
If I object to the change from the 3 to 5, then I've got to vote against the whole thing. And I think that's the same thing Mr. DeMott was raising earlier.
But just to clarify, when you have a motion on the table and someone asks to make a friendly amendment and the original maker of the motion accepts that amendment, your motion now stands as the original motion with the amendment, and that is what is currently on the table. Just to, the other flip side of that would be similar. If there hadn't been an amendment, you could still be in the potential situation of voting something down just because of one part of the resolution you did not support. It's the same, it's just now been flipped.
That's my whole point.
You are correct.
Okay. Then we're in a roll call vote. Ms. Parker, go ahead and start it.
Counselor Mankey.
Yes.
Seitz.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Bowles.
Yes.
Atchison.
No.
DeMott.
Yes.
Haney.
Yes.
There we go. Okay. So the motion passes on a 6-1 vote. Everything in the motion and what's proposed in the change is in effect, with the exception that we are leaving at a 5-minute time frame. Correct? Okay. All right. Moving on to our next item, and before we do, let me remind council, we did not previously have a post-meeting item scheduled, but we do have one because we were not able to finish all the material from the staff at the pre-meeting. So as soon as we're done here, we will have to go back into session. Next item on the agenda is the Council's Bill number 13. Ms. Seitz.
Thank you. I move to pass Councilors Bill number 13 on second reading, amending Section 8-7-24 of the Westminster Municipal Code relating to water storage or drought emergency plans and procedures.
Ms. Scully.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or questions from council on Council's Bill number 13? Seeing none, this is also a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
Seitz.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Bowles.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes.
DeMott.
No.
Haney.
Yes.
Mankey.
Yes.
Council, this one also passes on a 6-1 vote. And that is the final item on the agenda for tonight. Yep. So if you would please, let's try to reconvene over in the council boardroom, and then we'll finish up with the one item we have there, and then we'll be done for the